If you ever felt stuck in life and if you're struggling with your self-worth, your identity, your vision, your purpose, or maybe you're having money blocks, hitting a plateau in your earning or not being fulfilled, and better yet, a voice that's in your mind that's saying, you're not good enough. So I want you to know if you feel that way, you're not alone because I've been there. And Bob Proctor's teaching literally shifted my whole trajectory. In this video, which I'm going to break it down into part 1 and part 2, I'm going to be sharing 12 life-changing lessons that I have learned from my late mentor, Bob Proctor, that truly helped me get out of being stuck, lost, and helped me shape my mindset, my business, my identity, my vision, and my purpose. That makes this video very personal to me. So let's talk about who is Bob Proctor. Bob is known as the world's most renowned human potential teacher. He's the author of You Were Born Rich, and he was very active until he passed in 2022. I first discovered Bob Proctor when I was at the lowest point in my life, and I was struggling in my life. I couldn't even get back up. I didn't know where I was heading. I was in the middle of a divorce. A video of Bob popped on my phone and he said these. He said, your success is guaranteed. At the time, I just needed to hear that at the moment because I was so desperate and I needed hope. I needed light. And maybe that message is for you today. Your success is guaranteed. A little side note, Bob was mentored under Earl Nightingale, who was also mentored under Napoleon Hill, the author of Think and Grow Rich. So you'll probably see a lot of crossovers in the teachings. And let's go ahead and dive into it. Thoughts are things. This is the foundational of all Bob's teaching. Bob always says, if you can hold it in your head, you can hold it in your hand. When I first learned about this, I thought this was all some motivational fluff stuff until I started to test it and I get what he's talking about. Thoughts are things. And in fact, Napoleon Hill also talks about it in his book, Think and Grow Rich. So you got to think about what is it that you want. And the more clear, the better, because only you can see what that vision is. And at the beginning, when you really want something, it might feel uneasy or illogical or even impossible. But the more you put attention into that thought or the idea that you have, whatever it is, it could be a product, it could be a service, it could be your life, it could be the kind of relationship, right? All these ideas start to form into place. I mean, if you take a step back and really think about it, someone thought about an idea called YouTube, and that's why now we're on YouTube. Someone had an idea of coming up with this thing called camera and a microphone and a computer. And without someone coming up with that idea, it would never have become a thing. So remember, Van Gogh, before he paints his picture, he sees it in his mind and then he paints it, right? So when you create a thought that you would love, this is where the ideas start to form. When I start to see it, when I start to believe it, everything starts coming together, meaning a strategy comes together, meaning I have these ideas and I know what actions I could take. Now it feels more real. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to be the first one to tell you this. All these successful stories out there, whether you're relationship experts, whether they're entrepreneurs, all these successful stories, they had to believe in themselves first. You know the saying, seeing is believing. So I want to challenge that. Believing is seeing. I want to bring that up because we're talking about thoughts are things. If you believe you are and you have and you will, then that's what you will go. If you believe you're not, then you won't. Okay? Thoughts are things. You are the only problem and the only solution. Bob once said that you are the only corner that you can't see. And let me tell you, that hit me like a brick because it's so true. If you think about it, I am looking at all the problems that's outside of me, but I'm not looking at myself. And I used to blame the economy. I used to blame the world. I blamed the industry. I blamed my upbringing. I blamed God. I blamed the people around me. And it finally hit me when I finally realized that I was a common denominator in every situation. So it was tough because I had to take a hard look at myself. And that's when I stopped pointing the fingers and I start doing the inner work. To be blunt, I had to look at my own and it was not pleasant. And it is not easy. That's why most people don't want to do it because it's so much easier just to blame the outside. And the fact is, we are operated by see, hear, smell, taste, and touch from the outside in. When the truth is, you got to look at things from the inside out. So this was the beginning of my own freedom because I've learned it's not about blaming, it's about power. And To claim my own power and take my own power back is to look at myself. How am I thinking? Why am I thinking the way I'm thinking? Why are problems always happening? Why am I creating these problems? Because if I'm the problem, then guess what? I'm also the solution. I cannot change other people, but I could change myself. I can't control what other people think. I can't control the world economy, what the world is going through. But I can control what I think and what I do and how I handle this situation. In other words, this is a lesson of taking ownership and taking your own responsibility. For me, it helped me become very solution driven. I used to look at all the problems and I feel very stuck. Now I'm always seeking for the solution, and that's how I took my power back. And remember, it's your life, your responsibility. You choose on how you live it. You could choose relationships, your work, and it's no one else's responsibility. So it starts with you. Your self-image sets the limits of your life. Everything comes down to self-image. You can never outperform your self-image. For me, it's something that I work on every single day and every single second. I'm very aware and I'm very intentional. So what is a self-image? Self-image, we have two images, one projecting to the outside and one that sits in the inside. The one that sits in the inside is how you see yourself, what your belief system is. That is your self-image. It sits in your subconscious mind. So that means it's in the automatic. It's a person that you think to believe who you are. And remember, I said you can never outperform your self-image. So it's really ingrained in your belief system. If you know who Alex Hormozi is, this is how he sees himself, right? It's not about where you were at before, but it is all about where you are going, who you are becoming. So having a crystallized goal is going to be very helpful, because when you know where you want to become that person first. Your self-image is literally like a thermostat. So it sets a certain temperature, your income level, your confidence, your health, and your relationship. And no matter how much you try, you will always revert back to the internal setting unless you change it. And that's where the magic is. I said earlier, know where you are heading. And that's when you keep changing those settings one step at a time. And that's how we elevate. You know, I always say act as if, but act as if it's impossible to fail. For me, when I first started to work on my self-image, it was me understanding how much I didn't like myself. I mean, if you put a mic next to my head and you heard how I spoke to myself, it is very criminal. Even though I had the desire for great things. So that was what was holding me back. That was a paradigm, the way I spoke to myself, because it was how other people spoke to me, and I believed all that. So I kept digging deeper. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't feel like I was deserving, and that's why I felt stuck. My self-image was molded by my childhood traumas, abandonment issues from my dad, and growing up in a Chinese culture with the need to be that perfect kid with perfect grades, which I was not. The good news was, once I had the awareness, I could start to make those changes and break the cycle. So I started to do the self-image work. The first thing I did was to get very clear with where I'm heading and what my goals are. So I have a video here. You could go ahead and check it out. And once I figured that out, I start to see who that person is, that at the end goal. And I start to become, I start to think about, how does she dress? How does she walk? How does she talk? How does she make her decisions in her life? And by working on those every single day and acting it out every single day, that's when the change and the shifts start to happen. So remember, it is work, it is day-to-day work. When I start to visualize and see myself at the end goal, basically what I'm also doing too is reprogramming my mind. I start to see myself differently, I start to talk myself differently, I start to think differently. It is work. It's not going to happen overnight. It is a paradigm shift. And if you follow through this whole video, you're going to understand what that means, because everything can be changed. And this is the reason why I'm making this video, because if you knew the Lillian before, I would never been on camera. So again, your outer world will never outgrow your inner picture of yourself. You want to be your own best friend. You want to be, you want to know, and you want to own it. Paradigm are your operating system. So in this video, I've mentioned the word paradigm a few times, and this is so important. A paradigm is a mental program that has almost exclusive control over our behavior. And most of us don't even know that we're running on it. And that's why we're in a cycle. You're getting the same results in the same relationship. But the good news is there is a way to break it, and there is a way to make those shifts. So let me give you a few examples. Right? You might be thinking, I want to make $10,000 a month. I want to make $20,000 a month. But the truth is, deep down in your subconscious, where the paradigm and the self-image, all that sits, it's saying, yeah, right, it's not going to happen. And that's when the self-sabotaging kicks in. Have you ever been through that? If you have, leave it in the comment. Let me know what you've been through, because I'm telling you, I've been there too. So this is what Bob taught me on how to identify your paradigm, because you got to identify it to know it and to understand what is holding you back. Be in love with the process, not just the outcome. So the biggest thing that I've learned is a goal is for you to grow into and not to get. And specifically when I say grow into is if you're setting really, really big goals that excites you and scares you and just keeps you going. So understanding this saved me a lot from burnout. I used to be obsessed with the outcome, and sadly my identity was attached to that. It was tied to that, and typically to my professional life. So every time when I don't hit it, I feel down. I don't think I'm worthy. I can't do it. All these like negative feelings. And obviously when you do hit a goal, it feels very great. But the thing to understand here is when we achieve our goal, it's a process. And it goes back to what I said earlier. The goal that we set is for us to grow into, and it's not to get. And I'm referring to these big life goals that we have in our life. And Bob Proctor always says this: fall in love with the process. We are all on a journey, this journey called life. So I've decided that I'm going to be a student of life, because that's how I grow, and this is the journey that I'm on. That means showing up when no one is watching, doing the work when it's boring. So we're celebrating every single small milestones that we are taking forwards. So we're celebrating the growth and not just the result, because we're learning every single step of the way. And this really shifted my energy from I'm not there yet to the present. Okay, and ironically, that's when the breakthrough comes, because when I'm in the present, I'm focusing on what I need to do today, not wanting it to be done yesterday or tomorrow. What do I need to do right now? And it keeps me grounded. One great example is there's this movie called Soul from Pixar. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's about a high school band teacher who's having this opportunity to pursue his dream in jazz. He didn't get the support from his mom, but he wanted it so much. That was his big goal. And he was chasing it. He was achieving it, even defeating death. The best part was when he was doing whatever he can do to reach his goals. That part was fun. It was exciting. And then when he got there, performing with his idol, his favorite jazz musician, and we're done, he goes, what do we do next? She said, we do it all over again. He's like, that's it? So the fun is in the journey and the figuring out. Success is 95% mindset, 5% strategy. Bob Proctor said it's not about what you know, it's about who you become. And this ties into what we were saying earlier: you can never outperform your self-image. And let me break this down for you. It is a person that's going to do the thinking. It's going to be the person that's going to lead. It's going to be the person that takes the action, right? So the person is really important. Essentially, that's mindset. Mindset is very important. But let me also keep it very real with you. Strategy also matters too. I've learned that strategy is how you prioritize, how you plan, and how you execute. But without the mindset, that's when people don't follow through. It's a discipline. It's a desire. It's a thinking the problem and solving it. Got to want it so bad. So that's where the mindset comes in. When you are determined to where you are going, you're going to try many different ways, many different things for you to achieve there. As Napoleon Hill says, your goal doesn't change, but your plan may change. That's why it's 95% mindset, 5% strategy. So the real secret is mindset creates movement, strategy creates momentum. With the strategy, it gives you clarity. The mindset will be the driving force. The strategy gives you clarity, the blueprint, and you start taking action. Okay, so this is part one, and I know this is a lot for you to digest. So these 6 lessons alone could be a game changer if you really apply them. The key is to apply them. You learn them and you apply them. If you haven't liked or subscribed, please go ahead and do so. This gives me an opportunity to be a part of your journey. And if this hits your heart today, let me know in the comments which one spoke to you the loudest. Click on the next video for part 2 with the final 6 lessons that took me to the next level spiritually, financially, and emotionally. I love you and keep going.